Hello dear friends, welcome to today's video. It is Wednesday of week 2 and we couldn't be more excited to have you and to be sharing with you the subject which we started talking about on Monday. We started talking about two key concepts in the life of a leader: the leader's character and the leader's community. Today we are going to focus on the leader in community. The leader in community. As you can tell, I am joined by Mercy to my right and Ralph to my left. You will get to hear from them very soon. But as we start talking about community, relationships and interconnectedness is the way that God chose to design our lives. We all are born into families. We all begin our lives in relationships, and that happens consistently when we live throughout our lives. People might decide to withdraw from community, to be alone, but the key thing to remember always is, as leaders, we live in community and we lead in community, and in the same vein, we grow in community. When we ended our video on Monday, we talked about this mango tree and what happened to the mango tree as a result of the roots that had been slowly eaten by termites. The children showed up in the orchard that fateful morning only to find that the tree had fallen. And while we focused on the sad reality that what was happening to the roots on the ground was what accounted for that tree falling, today we want to look at the fallouts of a falling tree or a fallen tree. Welcome, Mercy, and tell us a little bit more about a tree that falls. What happens to that tree?
When a tree falls, it's possible that maybe some children came to pick up mangoes that fell or were struggling to harvest mangoes, and that tree could fall on them and then end up killing them or leaving some of them wounded.
Absolutely. So the tree is not the only thing that gets affected by its fall. The things around the tree get affected by the fall of the tree. There is a key to living in community which you and I as leaders need to understand. What I do as a leader affects not just me, but the people that I am in relationship with. What you do as a leader affects the people that are in relationship with you. Jesus Christ, our role model, when he came to earth and he was building himself a team of leaders, he chose 12 leaders. And he chose them and put them in relationship with each other and worked with them together. Ralph, share a little bit with us about the impact of working with these people as a team. Why do you think Jesus Christ chose not to work with them individually? He could have done that instead of working with all of them at once.
I believe Jesus put them together because he wanted them to learn from one another. And as they learn from him, they should also learn from one another. These disciples were coming from different backgrounds, from different families. Certainly, they were brought up by their parents also with different values. Mm-hmm. Putting them together was giving them the opportunity so that they can help one another. The Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, right. So one man sharpens the countenance of the other. Mm-hmm. And if we look among Jesus' disciples, we'll find out that they were people from different backgrounds, as I said. Mm-hmm. We look at Matthew. Matthew was a tax collector. He was like a policeman, or he was like a military officer. Mm-hmm. While we have somebody like Simon the Zealot, who was, we could say, a rebel leader. Mm-hmm. Putting them together was bringing them in an atmosphere or in a community where they have to learn from one another. Also, they have to also exercise patience and also grace in that.
Right. And it's within this context that Jesus Christ is teaching his disciples, and he tells them, when somebody asked him, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus said, number 1, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And immediately Jesus goes on to talk about number 2. And he says the second is just like it. Love your neighbor. Not as you love God, not as you love Jesus, but as you love yourself. And so Jesus right there quickly eliminates the option that many of us want to fall back on as leaders. people relationships are too hard. I'm just going to do my thing alone and forget about these people. Jesus says no. The measure of love that you have for yourself is actually what is going to determine how well you love others. And so living in community, how your relationships are as a leader is very, very important. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 3, the Apostle Paul says, we put no stumbling block in anyone's path, so that our ministry will not be discredited. Do you know some leaders whose ministries have been discredited in the very communities in which they live? Somebody once said, if you want to know who the real Christian is in every quarter, in every neighborhood, don't ask the Christians, ask the neighbors. Go there and ask, how is this person or how is that person? And they will tell you. We are not here claiming that these relationships are easy. We are not here claiming that community life is easy. It's tough, but it's worth it. We want to share with you our experience. You know, this team didn't just appear. This team was formed. And when we first came together as a team, we had struggles. Trust me, we are going to be opening our lives up to you today and sharing some of those things that we have experienced in the forming processes, in the forming stages of our team, and the things that, and how those things have defined us, how those things have shaped us, and how they have grown us as individual leaders. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. All right, so Mercy and Ralph, I'm going to throw this open now. When we started this journey, I think it was almost 2 years ago. Tell me, what did you struggle with the most about the members on this team, Ralph?
Well, for me, one of the things that I struggled was trying to align with working times. For me, early in the morning, I want to spend more time to pray, spend more time with the Lord. And at that time, I don't want to touch my phone. I don't want to go online until maybe later in the day, maybe at 9 a.m. or 10 before I will go. But with the team, I learned to get up very early and make sure that by 5, I should be online, because my leader, Delphine, she's an early bird. At 5 a.m., she would throw all the assignment and everything, and by 6 a.m. she would expect that we would have responded. And oftentimes I'll come very late, and it had to strain work the team. So I learned to be more intentional and also to try to shift and adjust to that. And today, I'm doing well.
Great. Mercy, what did you struggle with the most on this team?
Okay. Coming on the team, and particularly one of the things I struggled with was about Ralph. I felt from the start, I always some sort of suspected every move that he took. If he did something, I'll be like, okay, so what now? So and most times I didn't keep it to myself. I would confront him. I would be like, okay, this is what you did, and I think that you did this, it's not correct. So I suspected each and every move, but later on, I don't know if I'm faster than our but later I discovered that I did not trust Ralph from the onset. But as we kept on working together and I started trusting him, I discovered that his motives were pure. And our relationship has grown really deeper and deeper and deeper right now.
If we had more time, I'm sure that we could tell you more about what we went through. It wasn't only them who were struggling. I was struggling at my end too. You see, Mercy, she's a perfect manager. She's very keen on details. She would ask you every single pin, like down to, and I'm a big picture person. And so I'm like, can you just leave this thing alone? Let's just move on. Ralph is a thinker. He takes his time to process things, to understand the big picture, and then to make his move. But me, like you heard him say, I'm a person of action. I had to just go. And so we struggled as a team, and it could have been easy for us to just abandon and say, okay, this is too hard, we are not going to do this. Individuals could have said, nah. Both of them were coming from jobs. They weren't even looking for a new team when we started this journey together, and we could easily have given up, because community life is difficult, relationships are hard to build. But we saw the big picture. We knew that this is what God was calling us to, and God had put us together for a purpose, and we stuck with it, and we pushed through it and learned to trust each other. And today we are doing so much better as a team, and we couldn't be more grateful to God for that. Relationships are an integral part of every leader's community. Here we're talking about your relationship with yourself. We're talking about your relationship with your immediate family. We're talking about your relationship with the people that you lead. We're talking about your relationship with the people that you live among. Some of it is going to be difficult, but loving others well is the expectation that God has of each one of us who are leaders. And so community life is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard to get along with some people. You're even almost going to feel as if some people are assigned on you. It's like, this person has a problem with me. And for sure, there might be some clashes, personality clashes, interaction style clashes, and things like that. But we are saying, as we wrap up our conversation on the leader in community, that there are two key things that would make a relationship succeed: trust and grace. We already heard Mercy say something about learning to trust Raf. Mercy, share a little bit more with us about how important it is to trust in community.
Trusting in community is the basis of a proper functioning in a community. If you don't trust somebody, there's no way you can be able to work or with that person. You will always ask questions. You would always not want to give that person something and say, okay, do it. You would almost be like you'll be tiptoeing behind that person. You give that person something to do and you are tiptoeing to find out, is that person doing it well? I gave this person this 1,000. What has he done with 100 francs? What has he done with this? And so it makes your community life very tedious. It's almost as if you are in a school, and just makes every relationship shatter because people will begin to alienate from you.
Mm-hmm. And Ralph, I am sure that you have had your own opportunities where you have had to extend grace both to me in my 5 a.m., 4 a.m. assignments, to your phone, and to Mercy in our interaction together. And I'm sure in other relationships in your life as well. Say a little bit more about just the role that grace plays in these relationships in community.
You can relate and grow in your relationship with people and even with yourself if you don't really extend grace, because grace for me is that thing that God has extended to me as an individual. And when I look at my life, I look at the things that I have done, I look at the mistakes that I have made, I look at the ones that I have made intentionally, and God extended grace to me. I'm grateful. So as I relate with people, I also give them that opportunity. It is painful, but it is very good, because there are people that they get to learn and they grow in a grace community. But if we don't open up to them, we don't allow them to also express themselves, for them to be themselves, what will happen is that they'll be living an image that is not their true self, and will not even help us to learn from them, and also help them to learn from us. So I've learned to extend that to everybody. Even on our team, I have learned that, and that is why we laugh over some of the things. And even when we have issues, it is not coming like to attack one another, but it's often to learn and to better understand.
Right. So relationships, I mean, there is more to this subject than a 10-minute video would allow us time to talk about. And we want to encourage you, as you dive into the reading materials this week and the rest of the videos that we are sharing with you, to remember that people are going to relate with you based on the pace that you set for them as a leader. If people don't sense trust coming from you, they are going to be suspicious around you. If people don't sense grace, they are going to feel the urge to perform, to look a certain way, to be a certain way. And maybe you as the leader too, that will push you to have to keep up and meet up with certain expectations and performance metrics in order to be better or to look better. But are we saying, therefore, that you should pay attention to everything that everybody says about you every time? Absolutely not. In our next video, we shall be talking about the importance of self-awareness and the role that that plays in filtering. How do you deal with what people are saying about you? We all have had to work on ourselves. We all have had to make growth plans on different areas in order to get along better together as a team. That can only happen effectively when you grow in your awareness of yourself, and then you give your community members permission to show you your blind spots, which we all have, and that is another added benefit of community. We shall say more about that and how you can build healthy relationships in community in our next video. Until then, thank you so much for joining us, and do enjoy your readings and the rest of the videos.